Hey everyone, I'm actually going to have to come back. I'm getting some really weird feedback, so I will restart the show. I hope it'll let me restart it. It may not let me restart it. So I'm just going to believe that you guys are not having the same issue that I'm having with the technology. And I'll cut this part out in the replay as usual. So, welcome to Alignment Vision Action with Laurel. I am your host, Laurel Rutledge. It is a Friday. It's the Friday before the 4th. It has been an insane week. And I'm just glad to have made it through the week. So excited to have you guys here. And this week we've been talking about just being about it. Just be about your business, but also moving in silence. And my thoughts around this, in particular, that moving in silence, because I know it's Friday and people are trying to get out of here, which is why it's a different day and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon as opposed to 7 o'clock in the evening, is we have all of these things going on right now. This whole issue with Roe, among other things. Good afternoon, Marwan. Thank you for being in the show. We have all these things going on right now, and we've got tons of outrage happening, and we're angry and we're upset and we're irritated and we're frustrated by a number of things. We've got the hearings going on, we've got elections coming up, Ukraine is still happening. Just because it's not top of news every night anymore doesn't mean it goes away. We get so desensitized so quickly. And it hit me this week as I was doing the radio show and wanted to talk about it again today, is sometimes we have to move in silence. Sometimes we have to move in silence. We can express our outrage. We can be irritated by things, upset about things. And then we have to just move. And sometimes you need to just move without telling everybody, without announcing everything you're going to do. In the United States, that's what the right has been doing for 50 years. They haven't been talking about everything. They've just been moving in silence. They've been putting people in places. They've been putting judges in places. They've been putting laws in places. They've been putting people in places. Watch your school boards, watch your local elections. This has been a strategy. They've been playing chess while the rest of everybody has been playing checkers. And most of these have been like radical right. I'm not talking about the reasonable adults in the middle. I'm talking about the fringes on the ends. This has been happening a very long time. And what happens a lot is we talk a lot. We talk a lot. I say that being on a talk show, right? We talk a lot about everything that's going on and what we're going to do and how it's going to happen and who we're going to get. And talk, 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 talk. And sometimes you're giving people more information than they need in order to combat you before you even get to the game to be ready to play. I tell my clients all the time, you got to learn how to listen actively. Listen to what people say, listen to what they don't say, listen to body language, watch behavior. People will listen to what you say, but they will believe what you do. And often when we're listening actively, I say, even if you're listening to somebody you don't agree with, just really listen, ask questions, be curious, because people will tell you more information than they think they're telling you if you just pay attention. And so we've got a lot of people talking right now and nobody doing anything, nobody acting. Or the people who are acting are doing so in silence. They're letting all the talking heads do their thing and they're just moving. One great example of that is Stacey Abrams. She just mobilized. She got people to vote. She got people registered. She made some things happen. And she wasn't just talking about it. She wasn't just out there chit-chatting, doing all kinds of craziness. She was actually making things happen. And so the whole idea about moving in action and being in action and being silent in your movement is not that you don't ever talk to anybody, not that you don't ever make plans, but sometimes we talk too much. Sometimes we give away too much information. Almost think about it in a corporation. There's some moves that you make that legally you can't even talk about. The SEC has some real rules around some dissolutions, around some divestitures and things like that happen in companies that you can't talk about, or it's there are fines associated with them. So we almost need to think about some of the ways we move in that way. What do you really need to be telling people? Where do you need assistance? Where do you strategically talk about things because you just want to get reaction so you can inform your actions, your decisions? And where do you just stay silent. Just be still. Just keep moving. Take your next step, do your next thing, but don't be all chit chatty about everything. It's just not necessary to tell everybody everything that you're going to do all of the time. Show people by what you do, show people by your behavior, show people by your actions, not just by your words, because words are just words. And again, people will listen to what you say, but they will believe what you do. And if we do nothing but chit chat and never move into action, then what are we doing? So, and I'm a big proponent of great conversation. Let's get in a room. Let's throw all the spaghetti against the wall. Let's try to come out with the best decision. But then we have to move. You have to do something. I'm working with some folks right now, and they're not the only ones. I'm actually working with several clients right now that are talking about this decision-making thing and how, it's really difficult to get people to make decisions. And in many organizations I've been in, decisions are just made at the wrong level. And it's because we've got masterful at pushing decisions up, because we've got leaders who like to control. And so even if you allow someone to make a decision, you come back and you're like, oh, that's really not the way we should have done it. Or, here's what we need to do. If you're always directing people what to do, they will stop being creative. They will stop thinking. They will stop doing. They'll just wait for you to tell them. They'll wait for you to give direction. And then all of a sudden you find yourself doing all the work, making all the decisions, taking all the action, because you have taken away the power. Your actions have said, your behaviors have said, I don't want anyone else to do anything. I don't trust anybody else to do anything. I'm just going to give them direction and tell them what to do anyway. So why would they do anything different? Right? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. What we really need to be doing is learning how to move in silence. Move in silence. Let people know what they need to know. Let people know where we want to move. Hi, Stefan. Let people know how we want to move. But we don't need to tell everybody everything. That's part of the problem. We have been chit-chatting a lot and we're not doing anything. We need to take many, many pages out of Stacey Abrams' book. We need to take some pages out of the Radicals' book, right? Because they now have a stacked court that I just read is getting ready to take up some legislation around voting legislation that can move all of these things back to the states and take away states' courts' abilities to intervene and make sure that nobody crazy does something to even federal elections, like happened in Arizona, where they tried to take away all the electors. So when we start telling everybody every move, you give people too much information. You give people way too much information. What we need to be doing is making a decision, making a plan, taking action, and letting people know what we need them to know, not letting them know everything, because they don't need to know everything, right? Stefan, I am inviting you to, I'm inviting you to the stage here, if I could get my act together. It is Friday, and it has been a week. Yes, it has been a week. So, and actually, you don't have to be on video if you don't want to. Invite to speak. There you go. So I'm, and Marwan, I'm going to send you the same thing. Invite to speak. And accept if you like, you don't have to, but I'm more than happy to have you guys on the stage. So, what I want us to think about as we go forward with all of this is really being much more mindful of our platforms and the information that we use and how we use it and how we allow people into the deep recesses of our plans, because not everyone is a friend, right? Not everyone's an enemy, but not everyone's a friend. My dad told me this story a long time ago, and I actually used it in my very first podcast, and it was Story of the Crow. And the whole idea is that there was this crow, right? And he was hanging out, having fun with his buddies. And when wintertime came, everybody started flying south for the winter except for this one crow, because he was still partying. He was having too good a time. And then finally it got cold enough where he thought, oh, maybe I need to go ahead and move, because see, now it's getting kind of crazy. And as he started flying south, it got so cold that his wings froze. And his wings froze and he dropped out of the sky, fell into a field. And as he fell into the field, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I should have just left when all my friends left. But no, I had to party. I'm going to die. And so he's laying in this field, just devastated. All of a sudden, a cow comes by, because he's fallen into a farm. A cow comes by, drops a cow patty on it. For those of you who aren't from Texas, that is cow manure. Dropped a cow patty on it. He's thinking, oh, Not only am I in this field frozen and I'm going to die in a pile of cow crap. But then he realized he started warming up and he started moving around. He started thinking, oh, well, maybe, I mean, I smell bad, but I may not die because now I'm warm and I can move again and I might be able to get, fly some more. What he didn't know is sitting on a fence watching him this whole time was a cat. And as he continued to move and move and move and finally got and shook himself off and was able to stand up and kind of move around, the cat jumped off the fence, picked up the crow, shook him off, and ate him. And so the moral of the story is everyone who drops a pile of crap on you is not your enemy. And everyone who lifts you up and shakes you off is not your friend. And so when we decide to move in silence, what we're doing is saying, let's be much more discerning about who we're sharing stuff with. Let's be much more discerning about who we bring into the inner circle and give our plans to or bring into the plan to make some things happen. Because right now, more than ever, there is action that needs to be taken. There are moves that need to be made. There are things that need to be reversed. And if we are going to be able to do this, we have to actually move and take action. And some of those actions need to be taken and done before the enemy knows what you're doing. Fawn Weaver is really good at this, and I love her. Fawn Weaver is the CEO of and founder, right, of Uncle Nearest Whiskey. And she is a journalist. She's a lot of things. You have to look her up, Fawn Weaver. And she talks about starting this brand, fighting the big boys, just like Annamieka Anderson, who was the person who started the lab-grown diamond industry. So you don't hear a lot about her, but she is the woman who disrupted that and did truly lab-grown diamonds, not CZ, but actually taking coal and growing diamonds in a lab. So look her up too, Annamieka Anderson. But Fawn Weaver, when she got ready to launch Uncle Nearest, because the family of Uncle Nearest said, we think the way to honor him is to have his own bottle. That's how we want him to be honored. So as she started this business and did all of her research, it's the big guys. It's the Jim Beams, right? It's the Jack Daniels. It's the big guys who are running, kind of like De Beers is running the diamonds. And so she knew she had to be prepared. And so what she did was she got everything ready and then she went and told them what she was going to do. She didn't wait for them to discover. She told them. But when she told them, she had already done all her work. She had all of her copyright. She had everything lined out. And so they could have fought her. And she's like, and I was prepared for them to fight. It would have been expensive. But I have no doubt I would have won because I was ready. I was ready. And so she said, now, if you look at Uncle Nearest, you look at the brand, you go anywhere, the only time we mention Jack Daniel is when we're talking about the history of Uncle Nearest. And she said, so I am very well versed in fair use. I know how to do that, right? They can never catch me. And they're doing the same thing. They're staying on the right side of fair use. But she didn't go out and tell the world, hey, I'm going to start this whiskey brand. It's going to be Uncle Nearest because, Jack Daniels, blah, 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 blah. One, she went and got the real story. She actually had someone from one of Jack Daniels' descendants who helped her start this business. She talked to the family of Uncle Nearest and she got all of her stuff done and ready to go. That's what she did. And then she went and told the other folks, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what's going on. Here's what's going to happen. That's how she did it. And so we're out here chit-chatting and talking to everybody and telling everybody what's going on and not getting anything done because of the roadblocks, because of the naysayers, because we have to get all this consensus. We have to be nice. It is not unkind to be clear. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Get yourself ready, get yourself prepared, and move into action. Let your results speak for themselves. Let your achievement speak for itself, right? Let your action speak for itself. Not everybody can or will come with you, and not everybody should. But when there's really key things at stake here like we have now, there are critical things at stake. It is really important for us to be ready to move and to move, and not just tell everybody this is what we're going to do. So with that, 20 minutes in, probably only about a 15-minute conversation because I looked up and realized what time it was because I moved the show to today. Stefan and Marwan, thank you so much for joining. It's a weird time, holiday weekend. So I appreciate you guys showing up. I will put this up as a replay for sure. I thank you for being here. Stefan, thank you so much for your show last week. I'm sorry I couldn't be there the whole time. So thank you for that and for continuing to have those conversations. Marwan, I've not seen you before, so welcome to Fireside. I hope you're having a fantastic time on this platform, and I will look for you and follow you. So if you have a show, I will do my best to get on your show every once in a while as well. So things are moving and shaking here, so I should be able to join more shows and sit in more audiences coming forward. So thank you guys very much. For those of you in the US, have a very safe fourth weekend. Very safe fourth weekend. There's craziness going on out there. For those of you around the world who are listening and tuning in, thank you for doing so. I appreciate it. Every listen, every watch, every comment, everything. I really appreciate it because I know you have a choice. So thank you. Have a fantastic end of your week, fantastic weekend, and we will catch you next week. I'll be back on the regular time, Thursday evening. Starting in July, I'm going to have some